Atalanta 0, Liverpool 1 on the night, but Liverpool bow out of European football with a whimper, really. And I didn't want Liverpool to win tonight. I'm a Man United fan. I'm very open about that. But they scored after 4 or 5 minutes. They got a rightful penalty. They gave themselves a real base and foundation. They dominated the whole of the second half. But it was such a repeat of the first leg from a conversion point of view. The final ball was wrong. Salah went through on goal and lifted it up and over and wide when he really should have scored. That was disappointing to watch from a spectator's point of view, and I'm sure Liverpool fans were angry with that. But the second half, Gasperini made some changes, made it a little bit harder for Liverpool to break them down. But my initial thoughts and feelings about the game were, come the 65th, 66th minute, you start looking at the substitutions that were being made by Jurgen Klopp. And I understand Jota coming on because he's one of the best goal scorers at the club. But Darwin Núñez coming on for Mo Salah, Elliott for Szoboszlai. You then take both your fullbacks off on the 72nd and the 80th minute. Liverpool then have almost zero tempo to their game. And it was as though Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool threw in the towel with 25 minutes to go, plus whatever added time. It was as though they just resigned themselves to defeat. And yes, they needed 2 goals to send it to extra time. But it's doable. It's plausible. You're Liverpool. And anything can change in a split second in football. But when it's unlikely to change is when you give in. And I thought it was this image here of Jurgen Klopp you can see on the screen and the way in which Liverpool went out tonight, it just wasn't, for me, Liverpool. It wasn't like watching my enemy. I despise the footballing aspect of Liverpool like you wouldn't believe. But underneath all of that is a deep-lying respect for what they are as a football club, what they have won, what they have achieved. There's an envious side of me when it comes to their European pedigree. And what I watched tonight, I thought brings a little bit of shame on that element of Liverpool. And I know Liverpool fans love Klopp. They'll never turn on Klopp. I'm not suggesting for a singular second that they should. But I really felt that with his substitutions and the way he told his team to play, they just conceded, declared, with a third or more of the game to go. A game of which they dominated so many large parts of over 2 legs. It just left me. Now, I'm a rival. I'm happy they're out. Right? I'm happy they're out. But it leaves me with a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. It really does. I watched West Ham as well at the same time, who went out in the end. But they went out on their sword. They ran themselves into the ground. They had no energy left. Their fans actually applauded them after they conceded to go, do you know what, guys? We were up against it tonight, but we're proud of the effort you put in. And I love that from fans, and I think it's deserved. Will Liverpool supporters walk away from tonight and say, I know my players gave it all? I don't think they will. A strange way for Jurgen Klopp to end his Liverpool career for me. It really is, because this is never how he has been, right? This isn't Jurgen Klopp. Go out as you came in. Go out, lose the game 3-1 on the night, trying to win. Surely. Now, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. I would love to know what you think, what you feel about this. But there's something about this game that doesn't taste right to me. In terms of performances, look, I thought the first half, Liverpool were really good. They moved the ball well. They dominated possession. They were by far the better team. Should have scored more goals, though. And maybe it's become the theme of the end of this Klopp era a theme at the end of this season for Liverpool, where they just lack that clinical edge. And the fact that it's even started to impact Mohamed Salah is a madness, because even when he's had stinkers, that man has been clinical. He didn't do it today, and they should have done. But I thought overall the play was pretty good in that first half. In the second, you saw Szoboszlai drowned as an example. You saw Jones just, get the ball, but do very little with it. They just were suffocated, and it was almost as if they didn't know what to do. It was just so strange. And I'm honestly in a position now, as I'm reacting straight after the game. This isn't pre-recorded a few hours later when you can reflect and steal other people's opinions. This is instant. I felt as though the players were almost looking across to the bench saying, boss, what do you want us to do? What's the plan here? Where's the change coming? Yes, there was personnel change, but there was no change to what they were instructed to go and do. And when you took their real width away by taking their fullbacks off, I just thought to myself, he's given up. He's given up. And that for me isn't Jurgen Klopp, and it isn't Liverpool. But I'd love to give love us give you thoughts and feelings. Sarim here says, RIP Angry Rant Man. Absolutely. This performance reminds of that iconic clip he had once had, no passion, etc. So many players ghosted, disgusting by them. And I'm really glad. Sarim's been one of the longest standing Liverpool fans who watches the Terrace, and I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I wasn't sure if I was being disrespectful. I wasn't sure if I was being horrible to Liverpool. And I'm not saying what I'm saying to come across as salty. It's genuinely how this evening came across to me. It really is. And if they are out the title race as well now, if these performances continue for the rest of the season, I just think it's a sad way for this Liverpool team to go out, who through January, February, March just looked imperious, phenomenal, dangerous, scary, never say die attitude, could win no matter what was going on. Since the Manchester United game, there just appears to, it's almost as if that one particular game, I call it the Ivan Drago effect. They got that cut. They realized they were human. They realized they were not a machine, and they just never fully recovered from that point. So listen, Sarim, listen, I get where you're coming from entirely. I echo exactly what you have said there. I really, really do. English clubs all out of Europe in a span of 2 days. Well, all but Aston Villa that won on penalties. And that the English teams have been humbled this year. We've had some very good seasons in recent years with finalists and winners and semi-finalists, but this season has been an absolute abomination for them. And United and Newcastle probably the worst of the bunch going out in the group stages. West Ham, I think, have done themselves proud. They're up against one of the best teams in Europe at the moment in Bayer Leverkusen, who, by the way, didn't even lose the tie on the night. They maintained that unbeaten run. And listen, they probably got a little drunk over the weekend as well, and they still did it. Villa have done well, I think, considering nobody had much expectations on them. But I would say that Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, City have all underachieved. Arsenal probably reached where everybody expected them to get to. But yeah, not a good year overall for England. And there's no chance of the top 5 places now getting in the Champions League. Love the bottle joke. We can now laugh at Liverpool, is what Mr. Phillips says here. I felt we ran out of ideas recently when we were chasing. Klopp just chucks on players and we lose all shape. Maybe this is a reflection of what he said back in, I want to say it was November that he announced he was leaving, but it might not have been. It might have been January. I forget now. But it couldn't have been November. That's too long ago. I want to say this in the right way. When he said he's running out of energy, maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. Maybe, just maybe, this is where it's at. Terry, what's next for Mohamed Salah? Is he staying or leaving? I think he's leaving Liverpool in the summer. And look, he's looked poor since he returned from AFCON. He really has looked poor since he returned from AFCON. I don't think that doesn't dictate his status as a Liverpool legend. I would say the end to this season and the end of this campaign, especially if he's leaving, it really damages any claim he's got that we spoke about for the last few years of him potentially being considered for the GOAT of the Premier League. Because if it had ended this scoring, winning some major trophies, it would have been a really interesting debate. So I think his overarching legacy is not impacted or damaged. It's just maybe not going to get to the level that it could have done, if I'm being honest. But he'll leave in the summer, in my opinion, and go and play in Saudi. Our players lost energy after winning the Energy Cup. False advertisement. Similarly to Man United last year, if I'm being honest with you. Let's have a little look here. United broke Liverpool. Since that game, they haven't been the same. We broke Klopp. Listen, I'm gonna claim that. Klopp said he's feeling sick. People need to give him grace. He's not in the best of mind. Even as a United fan, I gave him grace for his health. When you say sick, what do you mean sick? Is it serious or has he got a cold? If he's got a cold, I'm giving him any grace for a cold. But if he's got a serious issue, then fair enough. But I haven't heard about that. So let us know. Told you Atalanta make more noise than Anfield. It was good, very good atmosphere in that game tonight. Very good atmosphere indeed. Leaving with one COVID prem is embarrassing. Ranieri is laughing in the corner. He has also got an FA Cup, 2 League Cups, a Champions League, a Super Cup, and a World Club champion. Like, we can't ignore everything else he's won whilst being a Premier League manager. Come on now, that's disingenuous. And as even though I'm a United fan, I can't do it. Gave up the second half, but Salah and Klopp killed the game. What do you mean Salah killed the game? By missing the chances? I'd love to know what you mean by that. Let us know in the comment section below. Terry, I'd love Mohamed Salah at City for 1 season. Yeah, you can forget about that, my friend. That is not happening for love nor money. Adrian says tin pot trophies. You can't call the FA Cup and Champions League tin pot trophies. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't get it. I don't get it. Ram is on with me now to have his say this evening. Ram, welcome back. Miserations for going out. Weird second half. Like, I wanted to get your opinion on that first of all, because a lot of Liverpool fans watching this, a few have tweeted saying the same thing. It was almost like Klopp and Liverpool gave up with 25 minutes to 30 minutes to go. What was your take on that?
It's always important to start off the game in either half on the front foot. And contrary to the first half, the second half, Atalanta just turned it up another gear and they started dominating the game. And we looked like we were devoid of confidence. I think after Mo Salah missed that chance, I think the players started to realize that element of doubt started to creep back in, and they just looked devoid of anything. The only issue that big issue I had of this game was that Atalanta played the exact same way that they played at Anfield, and we still didn't know how to break it down. That is a big issue. If you can't be able to sort that out within a week, I'm sorry, what are you doing on the training pitch? What are you and Pep Lenders are doing in the back room, sorting out tactics for the game? Like, the same thing, and we keep going backwards, sideways. We couldn't get the ball and turn. We couldn't do anything. And the fact that we kept on getting pegged back every single time McAllister had the ball, or even Jones and Szoboszlai had the ball, it was absolutely... It was a really bad watch, embarrassing to watch in my opinion. And look, not the best way to go out of Europe, but at the end of the day, all we can do now is try and win as much games and try and make this as best a leave as possible, because in my opinion, the league is more or less done. I'm going to have to ask my dad to do a big favor in beating Man City, but let's be honest, I can't see Man City dropping points from here, and we taking all 3 in every single game that we have, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, I hear you. It's not ending the way you want it to. G is here with us. I was just asking Ram, the second half, the substitutions, whether it was giving up, whether it was just poor mistakes from Klopp, it really didn't help you go after those next 2 goals. It went really flat and tired.
Terry, man, how long have I been coming on the football terrace? Probably like a year now. Said from back then, when I ask you to coach, just go and coach. When there's no individual brilliance, just go and coach, man. Try and coach, the team to be able to do something. Both him and the players just look baffled when the man-to-man marking kicked in properly anyway. Really and truly, really in that second half. First half, they were doing it, but it just seemed like maybe they were caught in between 2 minds at times anyway. But that second half, when I ask you to go and coach, go and do something, tactically, whatever it is you need to do, just go and do it. He couldn't do that. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was no idea. He had no idea what to do. He looked so confused on the touchline. The players, obviously, that then transcends to the players. Now they are baffled. When that man-to-man marking is going on and you've got players who are willing to run with you anywhere on the pitch, I need you to go and say something. I need you to do something. I need you to try and change something up. He couldn't do that. And then this is the result. You need a goal. Imagine you need a goal and you say, you know what? I'm going to take off my best goal scorer, and I'm going to, even though he's playing pants anyway, but I'm going to take off my best goal scorer, my best creator, and my most energized player on the pitch. And I'm going to bring on a guy who's just come back from injury, a guy that we don't know if he's going to be R9 or Andy Carroll one week. And I'll bring on a guy who made his debut like a few weeks ago. Those are the substitutions that you're making? Really? When we needed a goal. That's what you did. That was the tactical nous that people talk about. I'm sorry, man. Like that, that's embarrassing. And Liverpool deserved to go out.
It was a defeatist move.
In the word. Yeah, exactly. It was a defeatist move. And when I look at those kind of things, I looked at it and I was just laughing, Terry. I was just laughing because I just said, this is what you were trying to tell me about. We're going to be giving 100% and we're going to do this and we're going to like this. Really? This is what you brought to the table. I'm sorry, man. Like, but you could, those kind of things, like, I don't care that we won 1-0 on the night. We deserve to go out, throughout the game. And it was only really because Atalanta, to me, just looked like they didn't even really want to score or push the boat out. They played exactly the same game. Only Coop miners, but I mean the same game, the same things. What do we do? The same game, the same thing. It was the same game. It's not like we talk about we had a fast start. Yeah, we had a brilliantly fast start. We also had a fast start last week too. This time we scored it for a penalty. Then Salah misses the next chance. Then second half, they had 7 shots. They had They had more shots than we did. Can you imagine that? We need a goal, and they had more shots than we. Like, again, like I said, when I ask Klopp to coach, I don't see the coaching. I see individual quality a lot of the time. And when individual quality can't save you, unfortunately, I need you to coach. I actually just need you to coach. I need you to do something. And you did nothing. Yeah, I can tell you're tired, man. You've run out of energy. I can tell. Let's go. That's it.
It's interesting, but I know he's obviously not making content in the minute because he's got stuff going on. But the likes of JJ that used to say, "I don't want the manager here." He said he didn't think, and it was always said with, "I respect what he's done."
Yeah.
But for about 18 months now, he said, "I think we're past it." And you guys had that sort of resurgence after his announcement. But it feels, again, hindsight's a very lucrative commodity, and you have to sort of judge people on. We just judged Arsenal on what's happened in the crunch period, and rightfully so. And Liverpool, we need to do the same thing. It's got to the crunch period, and you got knocked out the FA Cup when you should have won by United, knocked out by Atalanta with a whimper, really, and given up a 5-point lead at the top of the title. Although it's sad that he's going, maybe it's a good thing that Jurgen Klopp is leaving.
I said this when he was leaving. Look, if whatever decision that you make, if you're not fit enough to manage a club as the stature of Liverpool, honestly, I don't want you to be manager. You got to be 100% committed to this role, and I can't be having 80%, 70%, because that might not be good enough to get top 4. We need to have someone who's 100% committed to doing what he's got to do. And look, I want to just touch on what G said, because watching the game, I started to realize, and I'm no like G and I, we're just average football fans. We don't really talk about tactics. We're not football managers, but there's certain things, certain patterns of play for myself. I'm speaking for myself, that when you see a massive gap in the middle of the park, and you don't see any people making any decent runs or making only open spaces, everything being so lethargic, I got a question why Klopp allowed it to happen. Because you talk about a Klopp team, it's all about dynamic movement, always about keeping on your toes and being always putting pressure on the team. And the fact that everything was just so lethargic, one-sided, no movement, basically just long ball, route one football. It was ridiculous to see. But look, if like I said before, if the guy said he's not 100% fit, then honestly, you shouldn't be manager of Liverpool. It's got to be someone that is 100% committed to this football club, in my opinion.
And I know, G, I know you've been someone that's been saying it. It's just, I suppose now, as maybe a lot, I just get the feeling, look at Liverpool fans' comments tonight, there's not even much defense of Klopp. When I've asked the question, do you think he gave up a bit? They're like, yeah, I think he did. And it's just it almost feels like there's a bit of a universal acceptance that him leaving might now be a really good thing.
Listen, like I say, when you're winning games, when we were top of the league, I think you said surrendering the league by 5 points, all of that stuff, even people coming on here, like, no one cares. No, you won't care because you're winning games, you're getting through games, and there will be a different type of narrative that will always be painted, which is mentality monsters. That's what he's installed, this, that, and the third. When it comes to these crunch times and these crunch moments, and it's happened in title races where we've drawn games, where we're on a title run trying to win and we lost by 1 point, and we've drawn games within those runs, and you think, cool. You try to put it down to various different things. You'll say injuries, you'll say I don't know, decisions, and all these other like little kind of fairy tales that we make up in our heads and stuff like that. But there's moments like this, and you can believe that, that's cool. But there's moments like this where I'm like, I just need you to coach. Like that's I didn't really know what the score was going to be, but there's no way that you bring on the players that you bring on if you're trying to tell me you're trying to win a game. That, like, come on, man. And even Klopp, I've never seen him. It looked so defeatist that I've never seen that from Klopp before. He will usually be the one who's like, let me galvanize in some way, shape, or form. But it's almost like he stood on the sideline, he saw what was going on, and he was just like, I haven't got an idea as to what to do. Now, remember, if your manager doesn't have an idea, the players don't have an idea. What are they supposed to do? Now you're asking for exactly what I said. You're asking for individual quality. I don't want individual quality constantly bailing me out. No. I want you to coach, because remember, you're world class. And he's a top manager and all these other various different things. Show us. That's all I'm asking you to do. But like, listen, with no disrespect to Atalanta, because they deserve to go through. And brother, you're playing Atalanta. Like, after the first game, at least you've now got the game plan. You've got the game plan now. You know what you're gonna do this second game, etc., etc. But you played the same game. You played literally the same way that you played. Like, I mean, he's doing the press conference now. I can't hear what he's saying, but I'm just literally just sitting there thinking to myself, like, Atalanta probably just thinking, Jesus Christ, we actually just got let off here because they just kind of played into our hands. Second half, we literally did the job that we did in the first game. Surely Liverpool trained at some point how to deal, with, I'm not saying it's easy, by the way, before anyone says, oh, it's not as easy. I know it's not easy. I know it's not one of those kind of things. I get all of that. But you're trying to tell me with the quality of players that you've got on the pitch, really? That was the second half that you put out? Where they were actually probably better than you in that second half? Come on, man. Like, you're starting to, like, these are the things that will then start to annoy me, because I'm just like, when I'm asking you to coach, you don't coach. You want to do individual quality and just nonsense. And now we're here in this position where people are now going to be saying, well, you know what? Yeah, maybe Klopp this, maybe Klopp that. I'm like, it's not even about that. Forget that he's leaving or whatever, because he's still a top coach. He's still a top manager. All these and everything he's done will never, ever get erased. We get all of that. But these are moments that we've seen throughout his tenure. Crunch moments, important moments. Hasn't really come through them more often than not. So yeah, man, like, I wasn't surprised that we went out anyway. After the first game, I said, we're not going through. We win the game, but we ain't going through, because you can just tell, like, with the way that we play.
I hear you on that. There's a comment that came through here that says turning on Klopp after what he has done is a madness. I don't think anyone's turning on Klopp here. I mean, just like as a Man United fan listening, I don't think any of the Liverpool fans are turning on Klopp. They're looking at this situation, criticizing tonight, which I think is fair, but sort of looking at it through the lens of, maybe onto pastures new for everybody now. That isn't turning on him or taking away any of his achievements. Samuel's here with us. What are you saying, bro? Samuel might have gone away from his desk. I've got a rack instead.
It's our performance in this competition is a failure. Obviously, it goes without saying that we're out, so that by definition is failure. But this is probably the competition, because I didn't think we'd really challenge for the league this season at the start of the year. But I thought this was a competition we could win. I thought Liverpool Football Club is built on the foundations of European success. People may discredit the Europa League to some extent because it's not the same as it was. Back in the day, it was only the champions that would be in the Champions League. So if Barcelona won the league, you'd have Real Madrid, you'd have Atletico Madrid, you have Valencia, you'd have all the other the UEFA Cup back then was more difficult to win, and there's still a certain prestige attached to it. And unfortunately, we've fallen short, and deservedly so. Atalanta across the tie were by far the better team. They, to some extent, I think they outclocked Klopp. The energy levels they showed, the closing down they showed, it was a little bit unstructured. It kind of did remind me a little bit of early Klopp Liverpool, but it was effective. They didn't give us a moment's rest, and when we had a couple of chances that we could have taken, and then would have given us a strong foothold to perhaps draw level. We didn't take them, and we deserve to be out. No excuses. They were by far the better team, and their football deserves credit. And I hope they go ahead and win it. Go on and win it.
I hear you on that. I would agree with you. I think it has to go down as failure with the level you are. And thank you for being honest. Samuel's here with us. Give us your thoughts, mate.
It was crap. I already knew this from last week. We're not gonna go through. What else is there more to say? I think this team has just hit its kind of like level. I don't think we can do any more than this. It's sad to see. And to be fair, I hear the whole Klopp. Maybe it is the right time to leave. I hear it, but I would always say this. Klopp leaving, we get a manager in, just expect Liverpool to not compete for the league for about 3 years. It is what it is. It is what it is. I just don't trust these owners. I don't trust the manager pool that we have right now. Especially as Xavi Alonso said that he's staying at Bayern Leverkusen. So any other manager that's coming in, strap yourself in. We ain't competing for no league. We're going to be competing for top 4. It is what it is. But yeah, it is coming out with a whimper. Only a League Cup, which is very disappointing. But there's nothing really much to say. To be fair, I just feel like a lot of these players. I think some of these players are not good enough. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of these players are not good enough at all. And I feel like Klopp, again, it looks like when G kind of said it, like when we're asking him to coach. He's not doing that. He's not doing it. And it's kind of like, I'm looking at him thinking, come on now. You did say you're leaving. Have some extra bit of motivation for these last few games. But you're not even doing that. So I don't hear any fans saying we're getting that Klopp and stuff like that, because it is what it is. The writing's on the wall. Like, you're seeing what we've been playing for the past few games. And if you're happy with that, then that's fine with you. But I'm not happy with it. That's all I want to say.
Listen, I don't know about not challenging next year. I think I get where you're coming from. You never know.
I'm actually being, and I've been saying this for quite some time. I don't think we will challenge for the next 3 years. Literally, I don't think we'll challenge.
I mean, I hope you're right. Like I do as a United fan, but I don't know. I mean, and when I say I don't know, let's wait and see who you get. I mean, if you'd have said to Bayer Leverkusen fans when Alonso took over when they were in a relegation zone, you would be on for an invincible treble next season, they'd have probably put you into a psych ward for a few weeks. That would be so. Anything can happen from this point. I actually still think you've got some really good players, and you'll buy some. I almost feel as though if you look at a few things, when they announced Pep coming into City halfway through the season, City's season kind of fell off. When Fergie announced he was retiring the first time round, almost at the beginning of the season, we had an awful year. When he announced he was leaving this time round, we were already so far clear in the league that it was kind of okay.
Wow.
Sometimes that plays a little bit of a part in a team. There can be an uplift for a while, but after that, maybe players are thinking, well, what about my future? So I'm thinking maybe I want to leave. When the sort of, I don't want to use the word novelty, but when the sort of euphoria around that announcement goes away, and I remember a few Liverpool fans coming on the show when he announced it, saying that they hate that it's been announced now because you could take away from the team later. So I get you guys are feeling all types of pain, and you're entitled to your opinions on your club more than me. I'm actually just trying to be nice, if I'm being honest.
You know, there was something that Samuel said there, yeah, about like some of these players not even like potentially not being good enough. And I ain't trying to get into semantics of what players or whatever. I don't really care. But it goes back to the thing that I mentioned about when you're winning, the players are good. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, Samuel said that. I'm saying, like, in terms of, we see it on social media all the time in terms of how people talk about players and stuff like that. When we're winning games, winning 2-1, 3-1, getting through the Carabao Cup, playing the kids, as everyone likes to throw around and stuff like that. Best academy in England. Got some of the best depth that you've seen. As soon as you start losing games, all of a sudden, yeah, them guys, they're not even really that good, you know? Yeah, maybe he's not as good and this, that, and the third. And I think when I see like things like that, that's what probably more annoys me, because the reality is, were they ever as good as you actually ever thought in the first place is the first question. Because if you're in this position now where you're already saying whatever you're saying, whatever some people are saying about certain players, that's when you're like, were they ever like really, you know, at that point? But I get it, because, you know, as fans, you hype up your players and etc. etc. But again, it's not even about, this ain't like about Klopp. This ain't, look, we lost. Do you know what I mean? We deserve to go out, and they outclassed us tactically over the two games kind of thing. But yeah, I just think that sometimes when I listen to some fans and the way that they kind of speak about certain things, you go too far either way. You're either way too like over exuberant about whatever it is, or you're way too negative about the situation, instead of just assessing the situation at hand and then obviously trying to make some type of
winning football matches will always do that. And I agree, because when United have struggled over the last 10 years, there's been different squad players that we've attacked. It could be Jesse Lingard, it could be Scott McTominay. We've always had players of that level at United, even when we were successful. But because we were winning, we didn't focus on David May not being good enough for the club. We didn't focus on Jasper Blomqvist not being good enough for the club, you know, or Darren Gibson per se. They were part of the squad. It didn't matter. Jack Grealish, I always look at him. City fans defend him all the time. Pep leaves in the summer and they stop winning, and they start challenging for top four and going out of cups early, and he keeps performing like he is, he'll be the first individual they turn on. Because I saw Liverpool fans do that with Firmino. When you guys were top of the league, winning the Prem, winning the Champions League, and rivals are saying, it's got to score more, though. And what is it you guys coined the phrase of, not you four specifically, but he's a defensive striker. And all that stuff. As soon as you guys weren't challenging, first player Liverpool fans went for Firmino. We need more goals, etc., etc. So I think you're right, G. I think that sometimes the players are good. I mean, Samuel's someone that's, I think he's been quite consistent on it, as I know you didn't call him out. But no, I totally get where you're coming from.
I was going to say, real quick. I had a conversation with one of my boys, and I always said this: Klopp is a dream seller. And this is actually props to Klopp a little bit, but you realize that some of the players that, well, most of the players that Klopp gets, they're at a level where they're all right, but Klopp gives them the extra oomph in the system to go on. And this is where I do agree with G. This is where sometimes where Liverpool fans do overrate the players. And I'm not going to call out names because that's a different conversation. But it's kind of like when it hits crunch time, when you need them to do something or pull something out the back, you're looking at them thinking, hold on, what did we really expect for the player that we bought from so-and-so, this, that, and that? That, like, it was really Klopp actually getting the most out of them in that situation at that time where we were going on winning runs and stuff like that, and we were winning. And I always say this, like, Klopp is a dream seller. He will get something out of them that really and truly, if this was anywhere else, they wouldn't really be performing like this. But yeah.
No, listen, I think that's I think that's true. You think Hazard is better than Salah? Don't know why that's relevant on here, but fair enough. Some people do, some people don't. No matter what happens with Liverpool's season, Klopp has been one of the greatest Premier League managers of all time. Respect him for what he has done. I mean, it depends on how far up the list you want to go. I mean, if he's in the top 10, definitely. He's probably in the top 5, definitely. But yeah, again, but Liverpool, that's not for Liverpool. Liverpool fans, this is going to sound harsh, but Liverpool fans have to kind of move on from that in the sense of they can't just go, well, we're not going to criticize the problems at our club because he's a legend, because Liverpool Football Club will still be ongoing in 50, 60, 70 years' time. Klopp will be remembered, but Liverpool Football Club is more important than Klopp. It's as simple as that. It's a little different with certain figures at clubs, and I'm not going to speak about yours. For instance, when Fergie left, it was a quarter of a century. It was all I'd known my whole life as an example. I think it feels a little different, but still, you need the club to move on and go to the next level. Terry,
Klopp will always be, he'll be fondly remembered, certainly by Liverpool fans, by Premier League fans as well to some extent, because he's been a big part of the Premier League over the last, 9 years or 8 years or whatever it is. Yeah, pretty much. Both for, the way that look, Liverpool's one of the biggest teams in the Premier League. So naturally that puts a bigger spotlight in you. The way we play football is different than we played, previously. And his personality, look, let's not beat about those. People will say maybe he's more personality than he is tactics. And that may be a fair comparison, but he has been one of the big characters in the Premier League over that period of time. And people will say, other people, his detractors will say, so what? What's he won? But as far as Liverpool fans are concerned, he'll always have a special place in our heart. And, we'll go with our best wishes. But the club will be here forever. The club is going to be here long before all of us are gone. So that's
very, very true. Terry, asked him if you think Klopp got it wrong by saying he was leaving too early in the season.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. You like that question can't even be answered because you don't know.
Because we don't know because
no one said, he said this to it. We were like, oh, this is probably galvanized. This is what I said about being reactionary or being in the moment. It's like he said he was leaving. Everyone was like, yeah, we're going to use this. I think we won our next game because the FA Cup game, I believe, straight after that.
I think it was Chelsea.
Against Chelsea. Then we ended up winning games. Like I said, no one cared at the time. Now we're losing games and playing rubbish. All of a sudden, yeah, maybe he said it too early. So that question.
Yeah.
It's also the case of if he say, for instance, hindsight or hypothetically, if he said we're leaving in March, we might have not been in a title race. We might have lost a couple of games in January. Might have dropped a load of points. Might have been out of the FA Cup. We don't know. It works both ways.
I don't say that. People, if he said it in March, people will say, "Oh, is that why we were losing in December, January time?"
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's
you don't win.
Situation. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, you can be damned if you do and damned if you don't. Sometimes that's typically how these things work. So I was just putting the Marseille Benfica game on because that's getting penalties, and I want to watch it. I want to watch it. But no, I hear you. A super chat here. Terry is having the best time feasting on rival tears for 6 consecutive days. Has to be content. It isn't right. People don't. I'm always a long game player. Yeah, you can have really good days where you get lots of numbers and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, great content creating. But now there's no European nights for the English teams that I cover. So that's my European season over. So from a content creating point of view, it's literally a month of content that's now disappeared. Like I can't do content.
So you're out of Europe as well. So we're out of Europe and you're out of Europe.
The Terrors is out of Europe. We'll obviously cover the semi-finals and stuff anyway. I mean, sometimes it's better though, because I remember a few seasons back when the English teams went out early. I think it was actually the game where Bayern Munich beat Barcelona like 6 or 7-1 or whatever it was. But it was amazing to cover it because everybody came on and just had fun and spoke football rather than being tribal. But yeah, listen, I enjoy it as a rival, but I like match reactions. They're my favorite show on the terrace. And if there's no matches for the top 6 teams, then it's crappy. But yeah, that's why when you guys went one up early, I was sort of like, oh, I'm up for you guys winning it because it means more games this season. And I like the story. But as a Man United fan, not the owner of the Football Terrace, I'm like, yeah, A fresh pair of eyes in the management seat and a ruthless footballing structure is needed. I hope we get this and can push us to be more consistent.
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
The only thing I say about ruthlessness, because everyone always says we need to be ruthless, but you can't always be ruthless in life. Like, if you have a company and someone shows up late and you sack them, just for being late for one day, you can't be ruthless all the time. Being good management is about being ruthless sometimes and being understanding sometimes.
I'll tell you
It's just about making the right decisions, whatever they may be. That's what you want.
I'm gonna ask Terry this, right? Terry, I want to ask you. I think Beckham left United in 2002, right? But he was
3.
One of those years.
Young.
But people called Ferguson ruthless for that. Was that the right decision in your opinion for Manchester United?
It was 2003. I mean, it's very hard to say yes or no. If he'd have stayed, would we have gone on to win what we did? I mean, 04, 05, 06 was really... So those next 3 seasons are really poor for Man United. Really poor for us by Fergie standards. But if he hadn't have left, we probably wouldn't have signed Cristiano Ronaldo, who went on to be a Ballon d'Or winning winger. So it did work out. Well, the only player that left, and Beckham, by the way, was my idol as a kid. He was my favorite player in the whole world. The only player that's ever left where I've really looked at it and gone, this is bad for us, was Jaap Stam. Jaap Stam's the only one. Even when we got rid of Roy Keane was past his best at that point. It wasn't, he went to Celtic, who was a good team, but it wasn't like he went and balled out for another 5 years at one of the biggest clubs in the world. So it made sense. When we got rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy, he still went and scored some goals at Real Madrid, but Fergie saw the relationship between him and Ronaldo and went, this Ronaldo kid's going to be the best. So I'm moving the other guy on. So sometimes you have to be ruthless, but Fergie also had times where he was smart. So he'd be ruthless. I always tell this story. It's such an amazing story. The Man United players got invited to some charity gala in Manchester. This was in the 90s when Cantona was playing. And Fergie walked over and I think it was Giggs and Beckham were standing there and he had a go at Giggs because Giggs' shirt wasn't tucked in. So made him tuck the back of his shirt in, make sure they weren't drinking, looked at both their shoes, make sure they're smart. You're representing Man United. Make sure you're smart. He had a go at them. Cantona walked in with a Hawaiian shirt and shorts on and flip-flops. And Fergie just went up to him and gave him a hug and welcomed him to the party. And basically walked up the other two and said, by the way, lads, this is what style looks like. But because Fergie knew, like, this is how you treat Cantona to get the best out of him. But he also knew Cantona would deliver and behave in a way where the other players wouldn't be upset by it. And I think we live in this world now where everybody expects equal treatment for every single person at every single hurdle, no matter what. And the life shouldn't work that way because there's 6 of us sitting here on the stream right now. And you might find we're all motivated by different things in life. And if we're motivated by different things, if we find some things offensive and some things acceptable, but I don't mind my bosses shouting at me because it motivates me. Ram might cry if that happens. So you don't do it. You put an arm around Ram as an example. So that's what I'm saying. No,
I love that you went for Vita.
Who's your boss, Terry?
Who's my boss? Right now, I don't have a boss. I am my own boss these days.
I was gonna say real quick. There's an example with Man City. And
Di Maria just missed the penalty, by the way. Hit the post.
Yeah, just
Fucking rat.
There's an example with Man City because Man City have always Pep has always been proclaimed to be a ruthless manager. When you're not working out for the team, he will move you on, like Cancelo, like Zinchenko, like Gabriel Jesus. But he has made some mistakes, and I do believe he has made some mistakes with Gundogan and Cole Palmer. Because if they had them both this season, I think that would have helped them a lot more with Man City. Now, Man City fans will obviously tell their own feelings, but this is what I've heard from Man City fans. So this whole thing about being ruthless, yes, I do agree that the one thing that was holding back Jurgen Klopp a lot was his sentiment towards certain players, and it was just getting annoying. And the next manager can't be like that. But sometimes you, as Terry said, you have to be smart with certain players. You have to treat them in certain way. Maybe you might have to keep them on so that you can get the best of them. You just need to be smart in different types of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Rack said, if KJ did something wrong and I just got ruthless and sacked him, within about 12 hours, I've got to do all his work now. Was that really worth it? What might be, again, if he keeps doing it after being told, then maybe you become ruthless. But yeah, I find a lot of people that speak about how to run things have never run their own business, have never had a job even at middle management level in a big company. And if you've never had that experience, you are entitled to an opinion, but that's a lucky penalty. But you don't really know what it is you're talking about. And it's, look, as fans, we have opinions on football, even though we haven't played it professionally. But typically speaking, if we all held an opinion on the best way for something to be done, and then Jose or Fergie came out and said, no, that's the wrong way, this is the right way, most of us would go, oh, I'll change my mind then, because a professional has told us this type of thing. This here from Gangadeep says, never good under pressure. Going for the quad or the title races will fall short. Culture needs changing from the top to the bottom. Ruthlessness and proactivity, not just about the journey and sentiment. So listen, I think that mixture is absolutely right. Proactivity and ruthlessness. I think we've just kind of said that. I didn't know that super chat was coming, to be fair. I think it's a great mixture, because sometimes you be ruthless and you have to cut things away. Other times you've got to be proactive and learn how to nurture and put your arm around somebody to get the best out of them. Imagine Chelsea had actually done that to KDB and Mo Salah instead of being ruthless because they weren't quite ready at that point. Look what they've had in their team. Klopp, the dream seller. He is that. He delivered the league, won everything. You all saying the League Cup not enough. Remember, last manager to win us was King Kenny.
Okay, first of all, you clearly didn't listen to what I said, because I said he was a dream seller in how he coaches players to get the best out of them when they might not even be that really good in other situations. Second of all, nobody's playing down what he's done. So if you're going to listen to what we're saying, please listen to the full context. But thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, absolutely. My team feel like Klopp right. My team feels like Klopp right now, given up and ready to have a long rest, being a bridesmaid for 10 years and too old now to get married. There's a little bit of that, but listen, there's an old saying that they use in business, a change is as good as a rest. And you might find some of these players that you're all looking at going, I look a bit tired. New manager, new ideas. It could help some of them. It really, really could. Will this season also be known as the quad season for years this season will also be known as the quad season for years to come? Yeah, it certainly will. It certainly will. By us. Liverpool will parade the Carabao Cup. It's all good.
Thank you for the super chat.
Matt, you're here with us. I keep forgetting you're here because your face ain't on screen. What you saying, Matt?
No. Well, I've got to stay humble because there's still, a title race to be won. But the top three teams in England have absolutely just been embarrassed. Like Manchester City, bro, Arsenal and Liverpool all been embarrassed in Europe, and it's like the English league has fully been humbled. It really has. Like the top three teams in England, I think fourth place is 10, 15 points away from us. It's crazy. But bro, Liverpool getting absolutely shagged by Atalanta, that, bro. That's just how it is, isn't it? 3-0 at home, and then just a 1-0 away. Fair play to Atalanta. You got to give them their props. But Liverpool, I kind of had a feeling that I was seeing these results going to happen at some point, because I think it was that Forest game that you scored the last second. I think it was Darwin Núñez who scored. That game sort of told me everything about this end of the season for them, in that they just weren't at their best, and they need to be, at the top best realistically to, compete with Man City. And so do we. We're obviously nowhere near there. But at the end of the day, I've got to stay humble because there is still a title race to be won.
You've got to also stay humble. You've also got to stay humble because you're talking to Liverpool right now.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
with all due respect, do you know what I mean?
They got humbled as well, so it's cool.
I was gonna say this season, I'm going to be fair with it. Arsenal fans have been right about Liverpool, and Liverpool fans have been right about Arsenal.
Yeah, literally.
Well, so we're
It's
both
true.
in the mud together.
Both in the Mud Brothers. Come join
Do you know,
United.
I'm wondering, right?
Go on.
Yo, I'm wondering if Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool all agreed with each other that maybe we should drop out of Europe just to make the title race more exciting.
Too far.
Just to make the title race more
You
exciting.
went too far, Matt. You went too far. Listen, I want to say thank you to everyone who was tuned in. Please hit the like button before you leave and subscribe. Back tomorrow with Straight Facts. We are recording the squad as well. We've got man like Neeks and Adam Charles is back on the terrace tomorrow, which I'm well, we're actually on the squad, not on the terrace. But yeah, it's
Sorry, can you ask Adam Charles a question? Because I remember the year we won the Champions League, Adam said if Klopp doesn't win a trophy this season, which was his 4th season, he's got to go. I'm interested to see. I will never forget that. Please ask Adam.
He hasn't made much content for years now, but every time Liverpool lose a game, this has been for the last 4 years. Every time Liverpool lose a game, he texts me and just says, "Fuck Liverpool." Whatever you lose, my phone light up on that as Adam Charles because Liverpool he must have just checked the score and see Liverpool lost. Look, everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see.